Carolina Pickleball Club is a premier organization dedicated to providing a welcoming and competitive environment for pickleball players in Kannapolis. They are passionate about promoting the sport among seasoned players and beginners alike, offering skill-based competitions that challenge and inspire. Go visit our friends at the Carolina Pickleball Club, 724 Chipola Street in Kannapolis, and tell them the Rough Talk Cousins at the KTown Connection sent you.
Man, Cousin Chris, who's on the wrong side here?
I don't know. I thought I was on the right side.
I think you've sat down at the wrong bench.
Yeah. But I'm at the bench. I think you're right.
You're on my side of the bench.
You're right. I'm on your side of the bench. What's up with that?
You're at the wrong bench.
I'm at the Cannon Youth Center, bro. Come on.
Man, when did that come back?
I think this is a new thing. I like it, though.
Yeah, this is another new set change on the KTown Connection.
New old
set change. We're bringing back, that's a throwback. That bench is what we got started.
It sure is. Speaking about throwback, you're channeling your inner DEI.
I am. I've got my Napa hat on, got my Napa Michael Waltrip shirt.
Oh, maybe a play on Michael Waltrip. You're at the wrong track, Ryan.
Man, don't understand.
Hey, how you like my digs?
Yeah, it is. That's nice too.
What would Dale do? I got my Dale shirt and my Dave Marcus hat.
They were good buddies.
They really were. Dave Marcus did a lot of testing for that 3-car.
That's what I was going to say. And he just had a birthday a couple weeks ago, 85 years old.
How about that?
I'd love to get him on our show.
Mr. Wingtip Shoes.
Yeah.
Wausau, Wisconsin.
Red Wing.
Man, cool.
But yeah, that looks good over there.
It is cool. We've kind of, I ain't gonna say been on a little bit of a break, but we've had a couple non-traditional episodes here lately, and we just thought we'd cut up and kind of just be ourselves.
Yeah, and kind of try this new setup, make sure it works.
Yeah.
We just had some other people in the studio, and that show's coming out soon, and people will see it, and used that bench for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably since
the old studio.
Is that when we used it last, or we take it somewhere else?
No, we had it here. We've used it in here once, and then we built the one that you're at.
Yeah, that's true.
Both, from repurposed siding from Cannon Mills.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Cannon Mills in both of these.
Yeah, all that metal.
Speaking of Cannon Mills, I thought we'd do a little K-Town show and tell today. Just kind of always trying to do some things different, put some stuff out there for our friends here in Kannapolis. We really haven't displayed it, but I really like this Cannon Youth Center sign right here at the front of my desk. I think that's a really neat thing. And someone like myself who did work in the mill, and these signs were in various parts in the departments, kind of a bulletin board kind of deal where they'd post some, HR stuff and different things. That's a unique piece from inside the mill, and I think it's pretty cool, and I'm glad we have it here.
Yeah, I picked that up in the Los Arcos parking lot.
Oh, my God.
Found it, we found it on Facebook Marketplace, and then ended up meeting the guy in the Los Arcos parking lot. So, well, they were going to eat there on a Sunday at lunch, and I said, well, okay, I'll just come there because I didn't want to miss it. It was too cool, and it's amazing it's not broken or cracked or anything. So I'm glad we finally were able to use it somewhere.
No doubt.
And in fact, today I got a hit from Scott Irby, another friend of our show. He's one of them people from below the I-85 line, but he now lives in the right side of the line, on this side. He was at an auction and was bidding on a A.L. Brown football championship football from 1960.
Oh, wow.
And, so he asked me how much I would, if I wanted it or whatever, and I said, sure, I'd like to get it if I can get it reasonable.
What's the bid at right now?
It was at $34.
Oh, I'm good for.
I gave him a number, and
I'm good for a considerably amount more than that, just to keep it from getting in the wrong hands.
Hopefully, we get it and being able to display it in here.
No
be really
question.
Cool.
And if you run low, let me know.
But we talked about doing a show and tell here today, and we had another great friend of our show who's given us some stuff to display before. He brought me some more stuff last week for our show, and wanted to talk about that a little bit. His name, Eddie Nicholson.
Eddie.
He's a great guy. I went to kindergarten through high school with his daughter, Miranda, and his son, Jordan, knew him well. They're still all local people. but he brought me some stuff for us to display.
This is vintage right here. I
It
don't know
is.
if that shows up, but
Yeah, it's showing up pretty
NASCAR
good.
Winston Cup Series mug.
Aladdin.
One of those Aladdin mugs. I would say, looking at it and having had a lot of these things back in the day, I'm going to say this is probably circa 1988.
How about that?
Somewhere in
That's
that
probably
time frame.
right. I remember those. I
This
never
is-
had
oh,
one like
absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, that's 32 ounces.
that. Wonder where that big straw is.
Yeah, no joke. That is pretty cool. So, one thing I'm looking at, I was going to say, let's look at that Oreo car.
Yeah, this Oreo car, I never will forget. I went to DEI the week that he passed away, like right before he passed away, and he ran this Oreo car in the Bud Shootout the week before he passed away, Daytona 500, and finished second to
Tony
Stewart. And this car, I bought an action model of this at DEI, but I had never seen this Revell version in this little display box. Pretty cool, and it came in like a white box that was almost like a shipping box. And let's see if I can get it to show up a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Hard to know which way I'm turning it here. Pretty cool box. I mean, it's in perfect shape. That was one of my favorite cars. I don't know about you, but
I think that could have been a primary car, like
yeah.
a year-long paint scheme. And
yeah.
I remember when it came out, something about the way the blue trim around that 3, it just popped.
That black.
Like it popped like a certain way. And in my opinion, and I grew up Dale Earnhardt from the moment of life in the 70s, and I can vividly remember every car he ever drove. And the 1981 Pontiac, the number 2 Pontiac, the Australian, or no, I guess the post Australian before the Childers 3. That Wrangler car and that number 3 Oreo car is 2 of my favorites. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I think so too. That I told you the other day, my mom and I had to go to Winston-Salem for a funeral of a good friend on Friday, and on the way up there, we were a little bit early, and I decided to stop by the RCR Museum, which is just an incredible place, and I had never been in there, which is crazy. I'd seen lots of pictures from it, and
pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it was really cool. And of course, that car is sitting there, and it's still got all the dirt on it from the race. It never was washed or cleaned up, and thankfully that wasn't the car. He didn't use the same car the next week, and so that car survived, and it's just a beautiful car, even after all these years, and after it was put through a heck of a race, and that was a great race at Bud Shootout 2001. So finally got to see it in person, and then this showed up the week before, actually. Eddie brought it to us, and another thing that found last week, these kind of popped in, and we've I've gotten some of these. We've had them in our family for years, but 2 more of them survived the junkyard, basically. Dayvault automotive glasses from the 70s in Myrtle Beach. Really a cool look. I know some of y'all will remember those because close friends of the family were given those, and good customers back then, and so it's cool to find them. I have found 1 or 2 before at like thrift stores.
Pretty cool. No, that is a neat find. I'm just glad anything from our family that gets preserved is a cool thing. And I know that's one of the reasons why the garage is put back in the condition that it is, to preserve not just the family memories, but just memories of this town and of the Dale Earnhardt lineage, and just a lot of cool things. Speaking of family memories, and I'm looking at one thing right now on your desk, that Cannon hat. That is a very unique item. I remember my grandmother, Edith Dunham. She had that same hat in the mid, I want to say that's probably circa 83, 84, somewhere around that time frame. And I remember her hat had like a little white cotton ball on the top of it. And I remember her wearing that. I remember, and it's crazy how I remember things, but I remember her wearing that hat to a 1987 football game at A.L. Brown. I think they opened up their home season against Northwest Cabarrus. But what I remember about that game is 87. That was the 100th anniversary of the mill, and they had a 100th anniversary celebration during pregame of that football game and had the band out there doing this special thing, and she wore that hat to that game. I just vividly remember that, so pretty cool.
Well, this came from my family, really. So on my mom's side, not really sure who it specifically belonged to, but Lynn Ritchie gave us this week, and he also gave me that thermos there that you were just looking at, the Winston Cup thermos, stuff that he had collected, and just really cool to be able to have these pieces, and it's really cool. So, and he gave us these cups as well. So between him and Eddie, we've been blessed in the past couple of weeks with some things. And Eddie also gave me this glass.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Look at that.
Mug. And so that was really cool to be able to pick that up. And anything glass, if it hasn't been broken, is a miracle.
Yeah,
so.
No doubt. Hey, look at this thing right here, and the camera don't really do it justice, but I want to say this weighs about 8 or 9 pounds. Does that sound about right?
Probably right.
Maybe a little bit more.
It's huge.
We always love to talk about the resiliency of Kannapolis people, and nothing says resilient more than this action diecast of the 1997 Daytona 500 car that Dale flipped. Got out, got in the ambulance, eventually got back in the story. We all know the Earnhardt lore. It's one of the best stories in the history of NASCAR. To get back in that thing, crank it up, pulling around pit road, flip Ray Evernham off on the way. We saw the footage of that during one of Ray Evernham's, I think it was that Refuse to Lose documentary they put out documenting the 1997 Daytona 500 victory for Jeff Gordon, and it showed Earnhardt flipping Ray off as they came back around.
That was great.
But that is one of the most incredible pieces of just resiliency there is, and I'm glad we got it right here.
Yeah, and that's 97, which goes back to this cup that Lynn Ritchie gave us this past week. It, same year, same car. That was a heck of a start to a Burger King sponsorship. It's upside down, and and then ends up finishing the race, which nobody else would ever pull that off. But I remember him climbing out of the car, and he asked if it still had all 4 wheels on it, and
get out of here,
see if it'll crank, and then it cranked up, and then
give me the car back,
and next thing you know, he's going after it, and seeing those guys chocolating them, putting all the body parts back on it, duct tape everywhere,
just to finish.
But that model of it's bigger, obviously, so it looks more authentic. It's just really cool.
It is incredible, and again, it just goes to show the heart of Kannapolis.
Nobody else from any other place would even driven something like that.
Nobody. and I'm not trying to poo-poo on any current NASCAR driver. I still love the sport of NASCAR. I do anything I can to promote it and all that cool stuff. But nobody in today's NASCAR is going to get back in a car that has been flipped quite like that. Now, hey, you know what? Hats off to Reddick for winning the race last week with missing a front fender. Now, that was pretty cool, and that was kind of old school, and I liked seeing it. But to get back in a car that had been on its roof, that's pretty cool.
That's the ultimate.
Man, what else you got over there?
Well, let's see. This is another little thing that found as part of some of the stuff we've had around here forever, and I kind of forgotten about it. I had seen it years ago, but it's a Kannapolis Men at War book from, I think it's 1940. Let's see. I gotta look at the number. Covering the period from Pearl Harbor to October 1st, 1943. And it was written by Ray Hull, Bill Workman, and James Moore.
Wow.
Printed by Williams Printing Company in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Holy smokes, that is a relic.
And it talks about the guys that were at war during that time period. And there's a lot of familiar names in this book. And, of course, here's a postcard in it of Little Mount Vernon, uptown where where Veterans Park is today.
Where I got married.
And yep, where I married my cousin at. Here, look here, I turned right to something here. Corporal Norris Dearman,
No
son
kidding.
of Mr. and Mrs. W.E. Dearman of 316 Bethpage Road, wrote to his parents in a letter received August 6th that lifting of heavy censorship permitted him to reveal that he is stationed in Iceland. He commented on the land where daylight lasts for a summer and night lasts all winter, saying that it had been light during the entire length of his stay there.
How about that?
That's something I have not looked and did not expect to go to something and see Norris's name right off the bat. But
Wow.
that was from August of 1943.
What a true legend of this town.
Oh, absolutely. And this book is broken up to what happened per month of of that time frame. And so, you never know when these are going to turn up at yard sales or whatever, but this is volume 1, and I'm not sure if they ever made more volumes. I would assume they did. Second part of the war from 43 to 45, but pretty dang cool.
No, that's pretty cool. And I just think it's so awesome that people have began to give us things, give you things, and people have been giving you things for decades. And I'm glad they did, because I think that they realized that you and that both of us will cherish it, protect it. Just had a gentleman give, a mint condition magazine that we had a couple copies of already, but he said I was the only person he'd give it to, because he knew that we would protect it, cherish it, and let its memory live on. And I think that, again, it kind of goes back to why we do the KTown Connection, why that we put ungodly amounts of time, effort, money, just everything into cherishing and revitalizing this building. And why we do what we do, because we love our town. We want to tell the stories, highlight the people, highlight the things that made it cool, and just let everybody else. We know how cool it is to live in this town and how great it is. But you know what? I think we'll let the world know too. And I just enjoy doing what we do, bro.
I do too. And speaking of magazines, this is a magazine that I'm trying to find an actual copy of. This is truly a photocopy on like a Xerox machine back in the day. But this was a gas car magazine. It was written by John Gasky. He was a promoter, Concord Speedway, Metrolina during that era. And it's I put this on Facebook a while back, asking on some of the local NASCAR groups if anybody has a copy of this. And the reason I want a copy of it is because there's a nice Dayvault's tune-up and brake service ad.
How about that?
Right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I want to get a real copy of it for our little portfolio of magazines over there.
Man, that is great.
But yeah, it's cool for people to trust us with things that so we can share with everybody. Mm-hmm. As you say, this stuff is second nature to us because we grew up around it and had it in a lot of cases for a long time. But there are things out there that we don't know exist, and it's nice that we can get new stuff.
It's kind of like that old Andy Griffith episode we watched one time, with Opie. He was the keeper of the flame. Yeah, that's right. And here we are. We're the keeper of the relics. We're the keeper of the past, so future can enjoy it.
Yeah, that's right. And nothing is really junk to us.
No chance.
There's some junk out there, but nothing's really junk. And I think we've talked about, and we're going to do something, I guess, more in depth about this at some point. But someone I really want to mention in this show, somebody that's special to us and me in particular, and someone who really made a lot of this possible, and that especially where we're sitting today. He passed away in January unexpectedly, and a lot of people knew him. A lot of people knew his dad, but Jimmy Hooper. Mm-hmm. Jimmy was a great friend. He was a neighbor for a long time, since I was a kid. His dad had bought this building from our family in 1975 and had it until I bought it back in 2025. And, Jimmy really wanted to see this place look good again, be a part of the community. That was important to him. And he worked with me, and we got it done. And just a big loss to me personally. And
Sure.
Of course, my mom known Jimmy his whole life basically. And I been wanting to talk about him a little bit because he was a special guy to me, and really do miss him going forward. And but I'm glad he got to see this place
Absolutely. And
fixed up.
I second everything you said. I really, really enjoyed Jimmy. Had a unique relationship with Jimmy. And you had to know Jimmy to understand that relationship. And he said it, and he said things in a very matter of fact, but sometimes uncolorful kind of way, but in a very loving way all at the same time. And Jimmy was a great guy. He treated me very well. Really took a liking to my son Leighton, and left Leighton a very, a piece of NASCAR artifact that Leighton really liked. And, I really appreciate Jimmy for that. And,
Very fun loving type guy.
Yes, Jimmy would say things, and with he almost had a little bit of that Earnhardt grin under that mustache of his. And,
that's right.
I just really loved all the time we spent in here. And, as we were unpiling the mess of this building and cleaning out things, and, he would come, and, you could just see the amazement and the astonishment of, oh man, I ain't seen that in 20 years.
Right.
But to his credit, he had a memory like an elephant, because he's like, if you go over there and look over there under that desk, I got something. And sure enough, he knew what was here. I mean, you wouldn't believe it, but he did.
He sure did. And, just like I say, just a great guy, and somebody I want to preserve his memory as much as we can. And, I've been able, there was a couple signs of his dad's business, Hooper's auto body shop, that was here for a long time. Got a few of those signs up in here, and I'd ask him if he wanted to take those home, and he said, no, I'd like, if you want to display them in here, that would be great. And of course, that's what, I'd ask him if he would allow that. And so we have those, and
we need a picture of Jimmy in here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've got, that's a good point. I have something that we can print for that.
Maybe put a plaque up or something. I think that would be very,
very fitting,
very appropriate, because Jimmy was a good person, good mechanic. His father, Carlton. They're a huge part. Just like this is the historic Dayvault's dyno. Their family had a very, very prominent role in this building too, and want to cherish that.
Well, they were essentially caretakers of it for 50 years.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty amazing, if you think about it. And I'm just glad to have known Jimmy, and really do appreciate, and his family's been, good to kind of work with. And, who would have thought? I just had talked to him 3 or 4 days before he passed away. But, I know there was an obituary in the paper or anything like that, but people that knew Jimmy, people still stop by here and ask if, how's Jimmy, or, where's Jimmy at? And, so, I think his memory needs to live on.
Absolutely.
Some shape or form. But
well said, Ryan.
But, I want to go back to things like this. Again, people might think this is junk and they throw it away, but to us, we like things like this.
Sure.
And it's a plastic cup.
Sure.
But I just like this menu from Stag and Dough. It was a part of some of Jimmy's stuff, and
or
saved it.
This little honk suppressor. I'd never heard of one of these before, but of course it's like a squeaky toy. And this, I love the brand Union 76, Unical 76. I got multiple T-shirts, and I used to have a little 76 ball on my antenna on the pickup truck until it got lost in the car wash. But never fear. I bought a pack of about 12 of them. So I have some more of them, and they came from 1977. So, I probably shouldn't be riding around in the historic ones. I should find some cheaper ones. But nonetheless, I know we found this amongst Jimmy's things.
Yeah.
And this is just a really cool thing. I've never heard of this. I've never seen one of these in my life, but this is just a cool little item.
I think it's a road rage suppressor.
How about that?
I think that's what it's for. So you're supposed to put it on your dash and hit that instead of blowing the horn at people.
That?
So it's kind of a safety device.
To prevent you from rough talking.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would work for an Earnhardt, but
maybe not. Maybe not, but you kind of going back to talking about them things like that cup and stuff like this one. I guess this cup right here. If you got items like this laying around that are just collecting dust, and you just want to either one come on here and do a KTown show and tell with us, and maybe tell us your stories about these items. I mean, feel free to drop us a line, or if you want to donate them to the cause, and we will proudly display them, talk about them, give you the credit for it. We'll safeguard them, and we've done that with quite a few items here lately. So we just love unique things to preserve the history, tell the story, and have a good time at the same time.
That's right. It's like right behind you. There's a ticket stub to a Dale Earnhardt party that he held at Sergeant Pepper's. Daryl Jackson, another alumni of our show. Yeah, there you go. With that nice number 2 on it that you like. Mm-hmm. And that was a ticket stub that Jimmy Klein had, and Jimmy, of course, was very special to our family. Grew up with my cousins, and knew my dad, and just a incredible guy. And he wanted us to have that in here to be a part of this history. Yeah. And how many ticket stubs are from a party after a race? That's pretty cool.
I bet very few remain. There's probably somebody that's got one in a book, and
he's got another one.
Yeah, I was going to say he does have another one, and just to have that is pretty cool. And also to know that party was literally right across the street here.
That's right.
Really, really neat.
Right.
Man,
but this has been cool. We need to do more of these.
I want to give credit where credit's due. It was one of our previous episodes when we was honoring our thoughts and feelings from that fateful day in 2001 on February 18th. David Steele, he kind of gave us that idea that we need to kind of start a KTown show and tell. And I feel like we need to invite him because I think he's got some items that he would love to talk about. And the invitation stands. If you've got something unique that you think tells a story, and especially tells a story about Kannapolis or maybe Dale or something, that
the mill
that ties this community, the mill, we would love to have you and do the same thing.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And it doesn't have to be, we've babbled here for 35 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. It can be a 10, 15-minute discussion.
Sure.
If that.
Sure.
And it's kind of like Eric Dearman, he was the impetus for our Mill People series. And, we've got some people lined up for that. We want to get them in and do some more of those shows, because that's a big hit. And people love to hear those stories and observe them. But we want those types of feedbacks to do more stuff.
Sure.
So
sure. Absolutely. Anyway. Well, hey, cuz it's still daylight outside. How about we go down to Chipotle Avenue and play some pickleball with our friends Nash and all the guys down there at Carolina Pickleball Club?
Probably need to change clothes.
We probably should. I don't know that we'd look good out there in our Earnhardt regalia, but you know what? It'd be a lot of fun, and I bet we'd get a lot of looks.
We probably would. Probably not good looks, but
maybe maybe.
I'm sure they've seen more strange things, But those are good guys down there. That was a crazy episode we had, but what a great story that is.
Yeah, thanks to Nash Patel, all the guys there at Carolina Pickleball Club, and they've jumped on board, and they really believe in what we're doing here at the KTown Connection, and putting their sponsorship behind us. Obviously, our friends at Hilbus Ford, ain't no more Kannapolis than that. So
no.
All the people, Susan Bear, everybody that helps us, and Mega Graphics, still give them a lot of credit for really helping put this logo of ours, brought it to life,
Right.
all the people that support us here. You know, we just have a great time. We're just two rough talk cousins that like to cut up and have fun, but you know, we're doing it for a reason. And you know, I think we're trying to bring that reason to you, because if these memories never die, you know, it just brings our community together.
That's right. Well said.
Cool deal.
You got your bell. You moved your bell over there too.
I did, because now I get to throw it at you. How about that?
You might break one of my glasses. I mean,
all right. Hey, we won't throw it today.
That'll be for the real shows.
This is a real show.
Well, it is a real show, but I sound
like the railroad sign out there on the back of the house.
Yeah. Is that it? Man.
3 for Dale.
3 for Dale. Later.
I might become part of the show.
Your premier Ford dealership is located here in Cabarrus County, where more than 70 years in the business lends to an incredible experience for every customer, every time. Whether you're looking for the toughness of an F-150, the spirit of a Bronco, or the versatility of an Explorer, you'll find it all at Hilbish Ford, your truck destination. Come experience the Hilbish difference in Kannapolis, just a 10-minute drive from Charlotte Motor Speedway, or get started online at HilbishFord.com.